Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Modern Warfare video. Today I'm going to be showing you all my best class setup for the brand new Rytec AMR sniper. It came to Modern Warfare multiplayer and Warzone the other day as part of the mid-season update. So now that I've unlocked it, I thought I'd give you guys a good setup so that you can go out there and have some really good games with this weapon. After the class setup, I'm going to give you guys some quick tips to do better with this weapon and the best scenarios to use it for. So make sure you guys are sticking around to the end of the video so you don't miss out on any of the tips in this guide. Before we get into it, I just want to quickly say, if you guys haven't unlocked the Rytec AMR sniper yet, I made a video the other day on how to do that, so make sure you go and check it out. I'll leave a card on screen and I'll have a link in the description. Just go and check that video out to unlock the weapon as quickly as possible if you have not yet done so. It doesn't take long at all, so I definitely recommend checking that out. But if you have got it unlocked already, you're obviously in the right place. So if you guys find this useful, be sure to leave a like on the video, it really helps me out, and feel free to subscribe for future Modern Warfare videos as well. Anyway, let's get into the class setup. So this setup is going to be more geared towards Warzone, however, the class setup can be modified slightly. It's very good for multiplayer as well, so it doesn't matter what game mode you're using it for. I think I've got some good gameplay with this weapon as well, so you can see for yourselves that it is a good setup. So on the Rytec AMR, I put on, first of all, a suppressor. The reason I did this is because it gives you sound suppression, so obviously the enemies can't hear the bullets as well, and also it increases the damage range. On the downside of this, you obviously have a reduced aim down sight speed, and also the walking steadiness is a little bit less as well when you're aimed in, but it doesn't matter too much because you probably won't be walking around an awful lot with this thing aimed in. I'd recommend stay a little bit more stationary, you know. The next attachment I put on was the FTAC 7 straight, and this is because it increases the damage range, the bullet velocity, and the recoil control. But as a consequence of that, there is reduced ADS speed and also some reduced movement speed as well. But again, you're not going to be moving around too much with this thing. Next up, I suggest you guys put on the TAC laser. And this is just to increase the ADS speed, the aiming stability, and then also the aim walking steadiness as well. And as a drawback for that, you have the laser, which is obviously visible to the enemies, but that's not a massive problem at all, really. For the optic, it doesn't matter, again, too much what one you put on, but I decided to go with the variable zoom scope, and this is just because you have that magnification toggle, so it allows you to go between 5.5 zoom and 12.6 times zoom. So having those two different zoom levels is quite useful, and I'll explain a bit later on how you can use that to your advantage, so definitely recommend that. And then finally, we've got the 25 by 59mm explosive 5-round magazines, and these have explosive impact and increased damage, but obviously as a trade-off you have reduced bullet velocity, ammo reserve, and recoil control as well as fire rate. But again, that's still a good trade-off because the explosive rounds are really, really good. They do a lot of damage. I'm sure you guys will agree with me on that. So for the other weapon in your class, I recommend putting on a second primary weapon, and obviously for that you need the overkill perk. But for the other perks, I'd recommend putting on cold-blooded in perk 1. This just means you're undetectable by AI targeting, you know, thermal optics, and then obviously it doesn't trigger high alert or anything like that as well. So you just stay off the radar a little bit more, which is what you want. Obviously in the second perk, like I said, you're going to be wanting to put on overkill just so you can get that second primary weapon. For me, I put on the M4A1, but again, it doesn't really matter what you go for. And then in perk 3, I went for spotter. This is just so you can see enemy equipment, field upgrades, and kill streaks through walls. And then you can hack enemy equipment as well. So I quite like this one, just so you can be a bit more aware of equipment in the environment and whether there's anything that's going to be a threat to you or not. But you could also use the shrapnel perk, as this allows you to spawn with an extra piece of lethal equipment, and I'll explain in just a second why that might be useful. So for the equipment then, this is a bit more up to you what you want to go for. I personally would either recommend for lethals going for the C4 or the Claymore or the proximity mine. If you think you might be on the move a little bit more, might need to clear out some rooms, C4 might be for you. Otherwise, a Claymore or proximity mine if you're holding down an area and you want to put that in a doorway or something like that to protect your back. Definitely recommend putting that on. And then for the tactical, you can either put on a stim shot, which allows you to reheal your health if you take damage, but you could also put on the heartbeat sensor, which allows you to see enemies in the area. So it's up to you really which one you go for. So in terms of some good tips to go along with the weapon, just to know how to use it a little bit better and how to win more gunfights, I'd definitely say that the gun is slower to aim down sight than others. So one thing you could do is swap some of my suggested attachments out for other ones that increase the ADS speed, or what you could also do is just embrace the fact that that's its weakness, that it's a little bit slower with aiming down sight and moving and that kind of thing, and you can just embrace that by adapting to the weapon's strengths and weaknesses. So what I mean by this is, for example, with this weapon, you're probably better to stay in one area and less well off if you start moving around a lot. So therefore I'd recommend creating some further distance between you and the enemy to give yourself a bit more time and space to react to the enemy. So what I mean by this is, for example, holding down an area on, another part of the map in Warzone and looking across to the other side to see enemies rather than running up in their face and trying to snipe them up close. That's probably not going to go as well for you. So stay a little bit further back, hold your distance and set up camp there for a little bit and pick off enemies when you can. That would be my advice, to be honest. And following on from that point, I would definitely say that this weapon is best used in mid to long range to very long range engagements. Generally, for anything less than that, you want to be using your other weapon, which is generally your primary, which is why I suggest putting on something like the M4A1 or an assault rifle or something like that, because that way you've got it covered for the smaller distances when you're up more close and personal with the enemies. But if you at those longer ranges, which is what I suggest with this weapon, obviously you can then pull out your sniper and start using that as well. I'd recommend to use the less magnified level of zoom on the scope to scout for enemies in the area. So let's say you've just got to a place, you've sat down there for a second, go into the lower magnified level of zoom, look around, see if you can see anyone. If so, zoom in on them, see what they're doing, and obviously if you can pick them off, try and pick them off. So yeah, it's really important to use those two levels of zoom to your advantage. And obviously I'd always recommend to start out in the lower level just to see if there's anyone nearer to you that might be a threat. And then obviously if there's no one in your area, you can then zoom in, have a little bit more detail and see if there's anyone further off in the distance. Or obviously if you see an enemy, just zoom straight into them and try and pick them off. Now don't forget, because obviously you're going to be at longer ranges with this weapon, you need to account for the distance as well. So if you're far enough away, make sure you compensate for this. So for example, you might need to shoot to the left or the right of the enemy or in front of them if they're running, just to account for the time it takes to travel for the bullet and also any bullet drop and stuff like that. So you'll kind of get used to the behavior of the weapon, especially at longer distances, and then you'll think, oh, actually, I don't need to actually shoot directly on the enemy. I need to shoot a little bit to the side of them to compensate for that. So obviously you'll get used to that, but that would be my advice as well. And you probably will see that in some of the gameplay as well, that I had to adjust to that a little bit. I didn't always get it right, but obviously I'm learning with this fairly new weapon. And then also I'd recommend just to use the left joystick, which will either be L3 on PlayStation or LS on Xbox, to steady the sniper so you have more accurate shots when you're shooting at enemies. Now this is probably a little bit of a cheesy point, but finally I'd recommend to just have fun with the weapon. Try it out, get used to it. If you've got the full version of Modern Warfare, try it out in multiplayer. This will be good as well, and then obviously you can play in private matches and then jump into Warzone and do whatever is best for you. Maybe start off in Plunder and then try it out in the other Battle Royale versions of Warzone as well. It's up to you what you guys want to do with it, but have fun with the class setup and let me know what you guys think of this. If you like it, just let me know. Feel free to leave a like on the video if it helped you, and let me know any comments below on what you think of this setup. If you've got any improvements or suggestions, I'd also love to hear those as well. And finally, just let me know what you think of this new DLC weapon. Do you like it or do you not? But anyway, cheers guys for watching. I really appreciate the support on the videos. Hope you found this useful. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos of mine. I'll be uploading regularly with more Modern Warfare multiplayer and Warzone content, so make sure you're subscribed for all of that with the bell notifications turned on. But thank you so much for watching. I've been Rytec Gamer, and I'll see you all in the comments and hopefully on the next video. Cheers guys.